And I'm going to call Cameron Thomas to make his maiden speech.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Thank you, an honour to follow the Honourable Member for Bradford East and his impassioned words. If I could address you directly, if you'll oblige me, and indeed to the other members staking their claim to Britain's best curry, it would be an honour on behalf of the people of Tewkesbury to join you in sampling great curry and determining a champion. On a more sombre note, I'm grateful that during the King's speech there is a commitment for a strategic defence review. I'd like to remind the House that in 2016 the Russian president deployed a chemical weapon on the streets of Salisbury. The lives of Sergei and Yulia Skripal were changed forever, as was the life of a courageous police officer, and a young mother lost her life. Today, in 2024, the Russian war machine deploys chemicals again on the battlefields of Europe. I do hope that the Strategic Defence Review will give due impetus to the renewed chemical threat. Thank you. I once held the honour of leading a parade at the Menin Gate ceremony in Ypres, commemorating those who gave their lives in some of the most vicious battles of World War I. I've had the honour to call the salute at the National Cenotaph here in Westminster, and it's an honour in equal standing to deliver my maiden speech to this House on behalf of the people of Tewkesbury. I follow a proud lineage of armed forces service, which includes my two brothers and did my great-grandfather, Petty Officer Supply Charles Trenchard, who gave his life aboard HMS Illustrious in World War II. I first moved to Tewkesbury 16 years into my own military career, with a Royal Air Force assignment at Imjin Barracks, so named after the Battle of the Imjin River, fought by the glorious Gloucesters in 1951, whilst outnumbered 18-1. Tewkesbury's quaint Cotswold villages and towns, crowned by our beautiful abbey, now make for an idyllic environment to raise my darling daughter. And should any member of this House wish to don armour and join me at Europe's largest annual medieval festival, then you would all be very welcome. I pay tribute to my predecessor, the Honourable Lawrence Robertson, a Lancastrian who made North Gloucestershire his home and represented Tewkesbury for 27 years, winning at 7 consecutive general elections. My defeat of this particular Lancastrian, I must say, was not in keeping with the traditions set in 1471 by the Yorkists at the Battle of Tewkesbury. It was an altogether more peaceful affair, and I found Lawrence to be dignified and humble as the result became clear. Indeed, the closest thing to weaponry on show that morning were the daggers being stared at me by one member of his entourage, which I must admit I thoroughly enjoyed. In defeating my predecessor, I become the first non-Conservative Member of Parliament in Tewkesbury since 1885. The weight of history bears heavily, yet pales alongside the responsibility. The only other time I've been elected in any capacity was by my fellow officer cadets on Initial Officer Training Course 60 at RAF College Cranwell, to represent them to the college commandant, a one-star officer. Immediately following that vote, my squadron leader, Craig Goll, brought me to his office, swore that I was his man, but practically force-fed me his Debrett's Guide to Etiquette and begged me not to end his career. 6 years on, he's no longer in the RAF, though I'm unaware of any connection. For my own part, I also had to hand in my uniform, once it became clear that the changes so desperately needed by our most courageous and selfless public servants must take place within this House. Our country finds itself at a crossroads. The climate emergency presents an existential threat to humankind and to the ecosystems which support life on this planet. We must collectively and decisively turn to face this threat now and export bold leadership to our neighbours across the world. The future is in the hands of our young people, and we must equip them today so that they can apply their energy to the challenges of tomorrow. But we cannot expect young people to engage in their political future when the curriculum does not enable them to do so, and whilst an imbalanced education system denies so many the opportunities of the privileged few. Neurodiverse children are let down by a neurotypical education system built by neurotypical people for neurotypical people. If we are to unlock the challenges of tomorrow with diversity of thought, then we must harness the opportunity of neurodiversity. Finally, trust in politics has never been more fragile. It is the responsibility of all of us to restore public faith in our political institutions. I invite my fellows in this chamber to renew UK politics through respectful discourse, regardless of our differences, and by dedicating this parliamentary term to public service. Voters will only engage with politics if they feel that their vote has value. We must transition to an electoral system of proportional representation. On behalf of the people of Tewkesbury, thank you.
I call Kirsty McNeill to make her maiden speech.